This is the Detroit Sports Podcast Network.
The biggest icon in podcasting.
Happy Thanksgiving, everybody! Welcome to DocNJock on the Detroit Sports Podcast Network. So much to get into. The Lions defeated the Giants, but everybody feels and treats it like a loss. We got to talk about it. It wasn't the best game. It was the game went completely different than everybody thought. People are panicking because everybody really wanted to curb stomp a bad Giants team, and you made Jameis Winston look like freaking Mike Vick and Lamar Jackson. What the heck happened at Ford Field? What's going on with the offensive line? What can we surmise from that contest moving forward? And today, 1 o'clock. Remember, the game's changed, not 12:30. It's 1 o'clock. The Lions are taking on the Green Bay Packers. We're going to talk about it. Joining me, my guy, a guy that I'm thankful for each and every day, not just on Thanksgiving, but each and every single Thursday when we bring you DocNJock. My man, Adam, the Jock Strozinski. Gobble, gobble, motherfucker. What's going on? How you doing today?
What's up, cuz? Why did they switch from 12:30 to 1 o'clock? Like, that is so different. Let me tell you a little story here real quick before we get into this, because there's a lot going on with the Detroit Lions. There's a ton for us to break down here. But I was at the gym the other day, and this old dude was in the locker room getting dressed, and one of the workers came in. The old dude asked the guy, like, hey, what time is the Lions game on this weekend? And I was like, I just jumped in. I don't know why I did. I don't know what made me intrude on their conversation. I probably shouldn't have. I should have just minded my own business, especially with the reaction from the old man. I was like, I believe it's at 12:30. Normally it's a 12:30 start. And the guy who works there was like, it says right here it's a 1 o'clock, because he went to his phone and looked it up. And I was like, well, that's different. That's weird. I was like, usually it's 12:30. And the old man ends up making some shitty comment to the worker, basically about people intruding on his conversation. And my whole thing was like, look, you old bastard, I was just trying to be polite. Don't make me break your hip. You're like 1,000. I was just trying to help you out, because normally the game's at 12:30. It's a weird start. It's always been a little bit of an odd start. 12:30 is usually 12:30 on Thanksgiving is like usually the only game that has that 12:30 kickoff. So a little bit weird. Old man didn't like me intruding in on his conversation. I get it. Should have minded my own business. Should have been quiet. I was just trying to help out. Just trying to lend a little bit of knowledge. And then I had to go do some of my own double checking, because I might have to fly for Thanksgiving, might have to go film the parade. And there are flight restrictions that go up when there's a Lions game in town. So I was like, well, what time is that game actually at? Is it 12:30 or is it 1 o'clock? And it's 1 o'clock. Do we know why the NFL decided to make it a 1 o'clock start on Thanksgiving?
Absolutely. Roger Goodell was asked this very question a couple weeks ago, and he said, we're probably going to move from 12:30 to 1 o'clock, Goodell said. We're going to go back to, quote-unquote, traditional windows, which means we're going to forego the more than 43-year history of the game being at 12:30, because
the tradition of the Lions, we're going to go to the traditional window of the NFL. Cool.
Exactly.
Thanks,
we don't care about the tradition of what people like, the fact that you can eat early, the fact that these games could go 3 and 3.5 hours. Hell, people that are working aren't going to get home till 7 o'clock. No, let's just do that. Let's just change it up, because the NFL world is synonymous with 1 o'clock games starting on any given day. And I'm like, you know what? No, it's wrong. I'm 100%. The fan base is outraged. They hate it because it puts you in a tough spot. Most people kind of have planned it, and you're changing actually their routine. They watch the game, and whether they eat at 2, which is around halftime, or they wait until 3:30. Nobody wants to wait until 4:30 to eat. It's less time to digest food, drink, and take it. And you got to stay extra half hour with the drunk uncle who wants to tell you how broke you are. So it's like, man, you want to get out of the, certain people don't want to spend all day with their family. They know they got to, and they got to hear about things they don't want to hear about, and they got to pretend like they care about the people that they're at, and they're like, man, I want to get the hell out of here. Now I got to stay here extra time and watch this. Now, I'm 100% with you, man. I actually wanted to go the other way. Start the game at freaking noon. Yeah. And get this thing over with. 3 o'clock, boom. We can all get home in a reasonable time. Don't have to write nothing after that. But I'm going to tailor the schedule differently. I'm going to get the podcast up. I'm going to have probably just the game story and then call it a day, man. It's not worth it. It's not worth it. Half the people that are going to be reading are going to be in the bag. and they're not going to make any sense of it. So Thursday's just a morning work period, game, watch it, analyze it, and then write all the notes down and get after it on Friday. Maybe a stream for SI, maybe if it's like a crazy loss or something controversial happens, but I don't like it at all. You're absolutely right. They messed up tradition. It's stupid, and I think the fan base is really pissed more that I have to kind of write about it after we're done and kind of analyze like, what the hell? It's pointless. I hope it's something they consider bringing back. And also too, because the halftime show is going to feature some performance. So this thing might not end till 4:30. So it
4:30, 5 o'clock. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, it sucks. It sucks. And it stinks for the
and here's the deal. I don't understand why the Lions had to go out and hire Eminem to basically go pick Jack White up off his couch for the halftime performance. What are we doing? I was anticipating something a little bit more blockbuster, something a little bit bigger. Generally Dallas gets a really good halftime show. Detroit's is always kind of the redheaded stepchild for it. I have no idea what Eminem, what the Lions organization, what Paul Rosenberg, what those guys were thinking. Like, look, Jack White's fine enough, but you hired this guy who's essentially the face of the city to bring you something good for halftime. None of it made sense to me, man. You brought up halftime. That's my soapbox. I wanted to bitch about it a little bit. I just didn't understand why you're paying Eminem to do this when you could have went and you could have made a phone call to Jack White and said, hey, can you come over and can you give us, I don't know, 10 minutes of your most B-level performance? We'll call it good. We'll cut you a fat check. Thanks.
Yeah,
I just didn't get it.
When you have a budget that big, you got to spend money, man, and that's just what it is. They got to spend money because otherwise they
looking for the write-offs, baby. Write-offs for the taxes.
Yeah, exactly. So they just got to spend it, and what better way to spend it than give it to Eminem, who also gives them free advertising. But every time that he, sits in the suite and cheers for the team, everybody's like, "Yay, Eminem!" But you're absolutely right. They could have just called and lobbed it. And also, too, to me, it's just my preference. I don't think, clearly, I think the bigger stars have always showed up in Dallas. And I like Post Malone a little bit better than the White Stripes, just my preference. So I'm like, man, I kind of like that a little bit more. But I'm curious, what was your reaction to the Giants game? Because people are treating it like a loss. It was a game in which it went back and forth. The Giants kind of exposed your defense a little bit. And Amik Robertson and DJ Reed didn't have the best games. And Jameis Winston, the attitude that the Giants had was, we have no more Fs to give. Let's just roll it and do whatever the hell we got. And they fell for the trick plays, which was crazy. Derek Barnes got posterized for the wrong reason. But in the end, they did win the game. Luckily, because the Giants, whatever you may believe, if they're tanking or they just said F it and just were going to go for it no matter what, it was the wrong call. Pretty dumb to do. But then their defensive coordinator takes out their best run defender, and Jahmyr Gibbs goes off for 69 yards, and the Lions are able to hold on. That's how I looked at it. Like, I never really truly felt that the Lions were going to lose except for one play where Jameis in the second half threw a moon ball like for 4 seconds up in the air, and the receiver just basically had to stop, and there was still no Lions defender by him. Mm-hmm. I was like, oh, I think I've seen this kind of weird stuff before. And that's what I posted at Detroit Podcast. But after, I was always tweeting like, guys, it's the Giants. They're bad. Like, it literally felt like the Lions just went there like, yeah, we can show up kind of 2 sheets to the wind. We're still going to do okay. And that's how they played. And that's the true definition of a trap game. But this one, the Lions avoided. That's how I looked at it. But, yeah, the problem is when you put that stuff on tape, other teams are going to look at it and go, oh, we can expose what the bad defenses look like. What'd you think of that nonsense game?
Dude, that game coming out of it, I'm so panic-stricken with this team. Like, the one thing we've been writing home about is the defense. And Jameis Winston looked like he was the second coming of Tom Brady in that game. And I'm going to be honest with you. I love Jameis Winston. I find him to be hilarious. That guy is a walking meme. I think he's fantastic to listen to. That being said, I don't need to see him beat my football team. And that guy was ripping up the Detroit Lions defense. The Detroit Lions offense looks putrid. I sent you a tweet, and it was basically Jameis Winston greater than Jared Goff. Like, Winston looked immaculate out there, and Goff just looks sped up, off rhythm. Completing passes is looking a little bit challenging. Thank God you've got a game breaker with Jahmyr Gibbs, because he was able to help seal that game and help take that game over, because what's going on with the quarterback, what's going on with the offensive line has me nervous about this entire operation. If you had to ask me right now, does this team feel like it is closer to being a playoff contender or closer to unmitigated disaster. I would say that I lean closer to this being an unmitigated disaster of a season. The offensive line is not good. Like it's just, there's no other way to put it. You've got no protection for your quarterback, who, by the way, cannot move. When the pocket breaks down, Jared Goff cannot elude pressure, cannot get out of the way, and cannot buy himself some time to help the plays develop downfield, cannot buy himself some time to get out, break a little bit of a runoff, and help move the ball. Jared Goff is essentially has cement for shoes in that pocket, and everybody's just getting a free run up the middle. Graham Glasgow, not good. Tate Retledge, not good. Whomever's playing on the other side, whether it's Owasika, whether it's Manu, whether it's whomever, not good. Taylor Decker, obviously banged up on the downside of his career. We've talked about this multiple times this season. We talked about it going into this season. We talked about it when Frank Ragnow retired. The offensive line has been neglected, and now you're seeing the issue with that, and you're starting to see all of the warts. Jared Goff is a very good quarterback. He's a very good quarterback. You can win with Jared Goff, but you have to insulate him. You have to protect him. You have to allow that offense to develop downfield so he can take those shots. The pocket essentially has to be clean for him to operate optimally, and for us to talk about him like he's a top 7 quarterback in this league. With the way the offensive line is right now, this guy is somewhere between 20 and 15 as far as quarterbacks in the league go. It's just not good enough. That's not good enough play. And the offense has been knocked off rhythm. The offense has stagnated. The offense is in deep, deep trouble because of the offensive line. The defense, I think they'll get some things figured out when they play Green Bay this week. We'll talk a little bit about that later on. But right now, the offensive line is absolutely killing this team. How do you fix the offensive line in the middle of the season? Can it be fixed? Is there anything that can be done? Because I don't know how Graham Glasgow gets better. I think what you have with Graham Glasgow right now, dude's in 9th, 10th, 11th year of his career. This is what he is. He's not a center. He's not. He's a right guard. You got him doing the night shift at center right now, and it's just not working. You've got a rookie along his side. And to be honest with you, he just hasn't been good enough. I don't know what the grades were on him coming out of college. He just hasn't been good enough. Generally, a guy can step in and can look decent, especially playing alongside Penny Sewell and playing alongside a B and maybe C level center. You would think he would be okay. Not good enough. Decker, I've been saying it for a while now. I feel like he's washed. You're going to have to address the left tackle position along with the interior of this offensive line this offseason. But Decker's giving you, I guess, enough. And I don't even know what that means or what that looks like, if I'm being 100% honest with you. And then right now you've got a revolving cast playing between Decker and Glasgow. And I don't think there's any way to fix these guys. I don't think you can swap Rutledge and Glasgow and have him play center and have him play guard so he's a little bit more comfortable, and that kind of helps shore up that right side. I don't know what you're going to do on that left side. I don't see any way to fix this besides trying to tailor your offense, going into it knowing that your offensive line is going to get you in trouble and you need them to do the bare minimum for protection. You need to get these guys basically to block for 2 and 3 seconds and just get the ball out. That's the only way I think you can make them look better and make that offensive line perform better, is by having an offense that is sped up to where they don't have to engage with whomever's across from them. Because when you look at it, they're getting their asses beat one-on-one. They are losing battles up front constantly. And it's affecting this team. It's affecting this quarterback. It's affecting the offense, and it's just not good. Any way they can fix this? How do they fix it? Look in your crystal ball and tell me what you see.
Yeah. If I'm Dan Campbell, on Friday after Thanksgiving, I'm putting on my hunting outfit, and I'm like, listen, Frank, you Sharmuto, you quit on me. I know I said I support you, but come back. No, I know Frank Ragnow, the guy that is enjoying life, posting photos online, probably the healthiest he's ever felt. He's not walking back through those doors. So your concerns are valid. Coyote Awosika got torched, and it would happen again in the postseason. So here's what you got to do. You got to tailor this offense to be able to go to their strengths, which is run blocking. Pass block, this team might have to just say, okay, we're going to throw 18 to 20 times, but 11 of them are going to be screens. And you find ways to go over the middle to Amon-Ra, get him involved. You just kind of, when you say play to the strength's not the offensive line. So you're not going to do 5-step drops. You might have to do some trick plays here and there, but you just have to give the ball to Jahmyr Gibbs and you say, go, we go, you go. And you got to actually develop that defense to actually be a true strength, which can happen when you get Kirby Joseph back, whenever that is. Hopefully, you hope that it's maybe in December and you get an opportunity to get him going by the postseason. That's a great asset. You get Marcus Davenport for 13 plays or less, and you take advantage of those, maximize those 13 plays, and you realize, okay, you get Terrion Arnold back, and you realize, okay, you're probably going to get Josh Pascal, Miles Frazier, the offensive lineman, back, and you say, all right, if this is a disaster, Graham, sit his ass down and put Miles Frazier at center and figure it out. Or you move Graham Glasgow to left guard and you put Tate at center and you figure it out. You say, we just got to shuffle. Like, if it's bad against the Packers and Cowboys, and it's bad, you have to make some roster changes. And there's still opportunity for that to happen. But the way in which you fix it is you go to a more condensed offense that features screens, run, utilize the three players that you kind of have been ignoring a little bit more. J-Mo, Brock Wright, and Isaac Tesla can be utilized along with David Montgomery. That's 4 players. If you can kind of get them going in a different way and to run behind Penei Sewell and Tate Ratledge, I think you have a better opportunity to just kind of, try to lean on that defense to keep you in games. And yeah, the big problem is going to be, and right now against the Packers and the Cowboys, this can be maneuvered. The problem's going to be where it's going to be exposed is you would presume that the Rams are going to get out to like a 17-0 lead. They're going to just get out there. And if you fall behind, your offense is going to destroy Jared Goff. Like, you're going to have to pass the ball. And they're going to just tee off Jared Verse, the defensive line. It's going to be a problem. So that's where I want to see the next 3 games. How does this offensive line adapt? Because everybody knows it. Like, Dan's getting mad at me because everybody knows that the offensive line stinks. And I'm like, why don't you give David Montgomery the ball more? He's like, well, we got Jahmyr Gibbs, and he's going to go off for 200 against bad teams. Okay, but, they are asking him, like, hey, you have kind of 2 warts that are pretty bad that you keep saying you're going to correct, and you're not correcting them. One, your offense is not explosive in the passing game. So everybody's pinning down that's a good football team and making it so that Jahmyr Gibbs and Montgomery have no lanes. And then you lost Sam Laporta, so that's a nightmare. And 2, you gave up way too many explosive against the Giants, and they figured out, we can take advantage of mismatches against Amik Robertson and DJ Reed, where, unfortunately, you hate to say it, but, we say here all the time, friends do not let friends play cornerback. And when you're 5'8" and the receiver is 6'2", it's going to be a problem. Because that's like me and you going out there playing corner and saying, hey, can we jump that? I mean, they tried their absolute best to do what they got to do, but there's mismatches that good teams will find. So it is concerning on the level of, can this football team win a Super Bowl? But they can get to the postseason, they can do some things, maybe get hot, but your concerns are absolutely valid. It's you're starting to see things that you didn't think you'd see. Are you concerned about, how concerned are you about the offense and their viability for success, especially when you got Amon-Ra dropping the football and, not making some key plays much more. I think he's got 5 to 7 drops this year, and he had like 17 in all of 4 years. So that's quite a bit of drops over the course of this season.
I think that's probably been the one thing that has stuck out the most, right? The inconsistency between Jared Goff and Amon-Ra St. Brown. Wow. It almost felt like these guys were symbiotic of each other, right? Like one was yin, one was yang. If you're into the Marvel universe and you're into Spider-Man at all or any of that, it was essentially like the Venom symbiote and Eddie Brock, right? Like they were one with each other. And it seems as though these 2 guys, there's a bit of a disconnect. And I don't know if there's other things going on. Amon-Ra St. Brown does not strike me as a guy who takes football lightly. He strikes me as a guy who shows up every day to work with a monster chip on his shoulder. I don't believe he's necessarily reading his own press clippings. I don't believe that he is he is taking in as much praise as he's gotten over the last couple of seasons. I don't believe he's that guy, or I don't want to believe that he's that guy. I think that there is something wrong with these two, and I think part of it has to do with the offensive line. I think Jared Goff is, like I said, a little bit sped off and a little bit off his clock, and it's just not allowing Amon-Ra St. Brown to get out of his breaks, and because of that, he's everything's just a little bit off rhythm. Everything's just a little bit mistimed, and I think that is what I want to believe is the issue. I did want to ask you, because again, you are around the team often. You are there. You're in the locker room. You're talking to these guys. The thing that's been kind of floated out is that he might be dealing with a bit of an injury. Have you noticed anything? Are they keeping things under wrap? Is there the possibility that he could have something that's nagging him that is causing him to perform the way he's performing this year? Or is it something a little bit more in line with what I'm saying, where the reason Goff and St. Brown are a little bit off is just because the offensive line isn't doing a good enough job and everything's just a few seconds off or half a second off, and it's just you're not seeing what we're used to seeing because everything's just a little bit more sped up.
Yeah, well, the way you look at it is he's not been showing up on the injury report too often, so I always look at it like based on when he showed on the podcast that he's hurt, not injured, that he's dealing with something, there was a play, I think, in a couple games back where he landed awkwardly, got hit. Look, listen, man, he's one of those guys that he's going to take bumps, but not enough to the point where it's going to affect him to play. And look what happened. He made some drops, but he locked in and then got over 130 yards. So it's one of those deals where he understands things are going to happen. They're never going to disclose it because then you're going to have opposing cornerbacks just take shots at him. But, yeah, it's clear. I mean, it's clear. There's something going on. And luckily, when you listen to the radio, 97.1, Dan Miller said, look, Amon-Ra doesn't drop the ball. And it's clearly getting impacted by some kind of nagging situation. So it's something you got to deal with, but listen, man, he said it. Listen, it happens. Players drop the ball. You go on to the next play. And luckily, in that game against the Giants, you were able to kind of overcome it. But, yeah, in big moments, he's got to tighten it up. And I do think that in December, this is a team that understands where they're at. They're 7-4. They're battling. And Dan Campbell said we got to do things the hard way, and maybe they do. They just got to grind it out. They're not going to blow out teams given this iteration of that offensive line. So that's what you got to do is just adapt. And because we have to, we've complained for 30 minutes, but we have to say that, you found and unlocked a weapon. Like, because Jahmyr Gibbs is, I think, one of the top 3 offensive threats in the entire league, and Dan knows it, and it's about using him effectively and unlocking more of his potential. So I know everybody's concerned about Hutch, and they're concerned about the offense, but first and foremost, because we have to credit Jahmyr Gibbs. That guy single-handedly carried you. And you can do that when you have a guy with that much speed and you have 2 guys in Ratledge and Sewell that can create those creases. And our running offense is pretty good. The run blocking has been pretty fair. It's the other side that's just been, abysmal that makes it so difficult when you have good defensive lines that are able to stack the box. But against the Giants, it's always good when an opponent has a clear weakness and you attack it. And that was the case. The Giants had an abysmal run defense, and you were able to take advantage. So credit that. But I am seeing a lot, and there was a long, almost 24, 48-hour debate this week over, Monday, Tuesday, and into Wednesday. A lot of the fans, when they saw how the defensive line just gave Jameis Winston 3 seconds on every dropback to be able to survey the field and find his targets and then burn you with trick plays, they were like, where's this defensive line? Why don't they get pressure? And more people are blowing up at Detroit Podcast wondering, what's up with Hutch? Is he overrated? Everyone's debating because people say, well, he had 6 hits and 6 pressures, and it was a franchise record, and it was a good game, and he had the game-winning sack. Guys, the way in which you look at it was Hutch can do more. And luckily, Dan said that. Hutch can do more. He wants to do more. And if you're going to pay him as the highest non-quarterback in the league, you would think he needs to be up there in the 12 to 13 sack range at this point in time and battle through more of those double teams. So I love the opinion of Moore on Aiden Hutchinson, but he still has a lot of impact. The biggest frustration is somebody else also needs to step up, and it's not Aleem McNeil. And that's gross because you could see it. Aleem McNeil was never going to win a battle against Andrew Thomas. And boy, you could see it from 7 stories up. at Ford Field, like, Andrew Thomas is like, this is great. I got a guy like 60 pounds lighter than me, and I don't have to push. I mean, there was 2 reps, cuz, in the second half that were utterly hilarious because Andrew Thomas just basically stood there, and Ali McNeil, with all his might, was not able to get that much push. Somebody else has to step up. I don't know who it's going to be. Maybe they think it's Davenport, but you and I don't trust it. Nobody trusts it. Listen, credit Jahmyr Gibbs, but on the other side, if you're going to take that next step as a defense, I would think Aiden's got to kick it in. He's at 4th gear. It's not a bad gear, but I think for the Lions to hit championship level, it's fair, right, cuz, to say that maybe he needs to hit 5th and 6th gear here with this defense?
I think there should be an expectation placed on him. This is the guy that the franchise has decided he's essentially the face of our defense. This is the guy that we want to build around. Now, I think it's on the franchise that he's having these types of issues because the franchise has told you you've got one premier pass rusher. You've got one elite pass rusher. And look, I don't believe he's elite. I think he's good. I think he's very good. I think he needs help. They need to reinvest in him by getting somebody else opposite of him. And a guy like Marcus Davenport, who may play on Thanksgiving, may not. I don't think a guy like Marcus Davenport is necessarily investing in a guy like Hutchinson. I don't think moving your best interior defensive tackle to edge is necessarily reinvesting in him. I think if anything, it's hurting him. You need Liam McNeil to be in the middle to help with everything that Aiden Hutchinson does, and Aiden needs somebody else on that opposite side. And look, Marcus Davenport is not that guy. Marcus Davenport, the fact that his body is not in a full cast right now, I think as Lions fans we're taking it as a win, but it's completely disrespectful of Brad Holmes, of this Lions organization, to say that you've got this guy, that's all you need, you're good to go. Did you watch the Houston game? That was, I think, was last Thursday.
Yeah, everybody was surely jealous.
It was nuts. And Danielle Hunter was a guy you could have had. You could have went out and got Danielle Hunter. You chose to pass on that guy. Minnesota was like, hey, we're good with you. You can leave. I don't understand that. And like, you should have been first in line to go get him, because if you paired him with Aiden Hutchinson, oh my God. Oh my God. And that makes your Legion of whom? You could play whoever you want in your secondary. Aiden Hutchinson has to be better. Okay? I'm not trying to absolve him of this. I don't think the franchise has put him in a great spot. I think the franchise, if anything, has hurt him because they've come out and they basically have told you, hey, he's elite. He is that guy. He is him. And when you see his play on the field, it's more like he's Hutch. Okay, I guess. Like, he's good, but he ain't Myles Garrett. He's not Max Crosby. Those guys are him. Those guys are that guy. Those guys are dogs. You needed to put somebody else next to him to help him out. If you want him to be him and not just be Hutch, he needs help. You've got to get him somebody else. His play, specifically when this team loses, is completely underwhelming. Now, when they win, do you want to see more? Yes. But there is usually a point in the game where he does make a play, one or two. Watching this game this week, I was like, oh, cool. Finally, he did something. You know, like, I don't want to see quarterback hits. I don't give a shit about quarterback hits. I want quarterback sacks. A quarterback hit means that you're getting there too late. I want quarterback sacks. I want that pressure rate to be through the roof. I want you impacting the game. Quarterback hits don't mean you're impacting the game. Quarterback hits mean you're impacting the quarterback's body. That may impact the game later on, may not. So I look, I wouldn't necessarily say Hutch is overrated, all right? But what I would say is that this guy needs to give you more. He needs to be better. And whether it's a scheme or whether he just needs more help. I'm going to go with he needs more help because I think more help makes this team better. And I need to get more production out of him some way, somehow. I don't know how we get it, but he's got to do more. He has to do more. And if you're Brad Holmes, if you're coming out and you're being completely dishonest with yourself and with the fans, and I'll say it, the organization, saying that you only need him, that's all you need, you just need one, you're out of your mind. You're out of your mind, and you should possibly be looking for another career somewhere else. And if you don't like that, whatever. I think Brad Holmes has proven this year specifically, his smartest man in the room routine has caught up to him. He's invested in draft picks, and he's moved around in the later parts of the draft, giving up a ton of capital to go get guys who haven't panned out. Go check out Broderick Martin. Check out Hendon Hooker. Check out, I don't know, any one of these random ass offensive linemen. Yeah, Baki's another one. Like, there's a ton of guys who have not panned out. That look, and Tesla's the most recent one where you gave up a ton of third round picks to go get a guy, and we thought he was going to replace JMO. You decided that you wanted to pay JMO. Okay, so why did you go get another wide receiver? I feel like wide receivers in the draft, especially a third wide receiver, you can essentially just get them somewhere in the 6th, 7th round and call it a day. And like whatever they give you, they're going to give you. I mean, you look at Tesla's numbers this year, they're pedestrian. It's anything that you could have got from a 7th round pick, or you could have got from somebody who was undrafted. To me, you gave up too much draft capital to get the production that you're getting right now. So maybe that gets turned up and gets figured out. But as of right now, Brad Holmes is hurting this team. He's hurting Hutch. Hutch needs to be better. I'm not absolving him, but it's a freaking conundrum, right? Like the things that Brad Holmes has done to put this team in this position are incredibly frustrating, and I don't think it gets talked about enough. That's why I'm here every single week talking about this, taking Brad Holmes to task, because I'm pissed, because I feel like he hurt this team. This window is closing. You're starting to see it. I know they don't believe in windows. All the GMs in this town don't believe in windows, but you can start to see it. This window is closing. Your offensive line needs to be flipped over and completely replaced. Can you do it in an offseason? Yes, other teams have done it in an offseason. Will this team do it in an offseason? I don't know. I think they're going to hold on to Decker until the guy dies on the field. The guy looks like a freaking orange construction barrel on 696 right now, but they're going to hold on to him for whatever. So the team is not in a great spot right now. That being said, we need to see guys step up. We need to see guys. We need to see guys like Hutch. We need to see guys like Goff. It would be awesome to see the offensive line, the interior of it, step up and play better. Who specifically do you think needs to step up? Or is there just a position group that has to, as a unit, step up? Who's got to take that next step? So when we come back next week and we're previewing the Lions-Dallas game, we're basically glazing a Lions donut because we're so happy that they won on Thanksgiving when they took on Green Bay. Who's got to be that guy, or who's that position group that's gotta essentially man up and put their nuts on the table?
Yeah, I think it's got to be, when you saw success, you saw the linebackers kind of carrying the team. I think that they got to generate the pressure. They're the ones that can get after the quarterback, but their 1A's got to be the cornerbacks. I mean, Reed and Amik had a bad game. They were, and I tried to hype up Amik Robertson in the locker room because he had a couple plays where he got as high as humanly possible, but he just was spot on. He's like, man, too many missed opportunities. Tried to punch the ball out, too many blown coverages, too many overcommitments on plays that resulted in explosive plays. So it's it was bad. It was just purely bad, and it was crazy in that you didn't even allow their best receiver, that he got one catch for 23 yards, and you went to a bunch of other guys that were not heralded at all. So it was crazy to think about the Giants doing that to you. So I'm thinking the linebackers, Anzalone, Derek Barnes, and Jack Campbell have to step it up and be more forceful, not miss tackles, be as good as they can be in regards to whatever the game plan is. But that game plan was really wild to think about how many missed plays were there for the Lions defense that they weren't able to make. And when this team doesn't get turnovers, they don't punch the ball out, it's a problem. And I do think this upcoming game is going to be a big grinded out test. This game I do think is kind of 50-50 because I still think it's going to be a 1-point win because the Lions have, I think at the time that the Packers released their injury report, there's no Jaden Reed. So no Spartan Dog, no Love. So I'm really disappointed again because of that. And no Tucker Kraft. That's a big injury for them. If they were there, I think the Packers are better than you. But it's one of those deals where if you can figure out a way to move, scheme around Micah Parsons and I think the Lions have just one or two more explosive players that are a little bit better late. I think it'll be a close game. It'll be tied, maybe 17-17 in the fourth quarter. You'll get the ball and you'll just move it and get the field goal. So I'm thinking maybe the Packers have a lead like 23-21 fourth quarter and you're able to just move the ball and do your thing. So I'm thinking it's going to be a very tight contest, back and forth. This one has a chance to, similar to the Giants, upset fans, piss off the world. Everybody will be drinking and eating and saying, oh, and this one has a chance to be a really good game. Two teams that really want it. But I always feel like LaFleur in Detroit always like 4th and 2 at his own 38, and he just punts it. Doesn't or he tries a 60-yard field goal instead of punting it deep with his defense playing well. So it always feels like something dumb that he does that puts his team in a position to lose. Now, you just got to do what you got to do to make Jordan Love's life miserable and get after it. How are you seeing this game? Are you concerned? Because it is a big deal. If you lose this game, winning the division is almost impossible, and it would mean a potential to play Seattle, the Rams, the Eagles, a game against your division rival. You might have to go Bears, Rams, Eagles to get to the Super Bowl. Are you kidding me? I think that would be quite the challenge to go the hard road. You don't want to be the 7th seed at all. So getting that one playoff game might get you to a chance where the Eagles might blow a game in that first round, maybe be like how you were. This game's huge, but I do think it's going to go back and forth. There's no clear advantage with the Lions, and I do think that the Lions' pass defense might be something to pay attention to in how this game shakes out.
Yeah, look, if you lose this game, I don't think you have an opportunity to even get into the playoffs. I think this game is incredibly important. Screw the division. You need to win this game so you can keep pace and stay in the playoff hunt and work your way up into the seedings that will favor you. Because with the way it's looking right now, this team is on the outside looking in. You're third in your division, which is something that I don't think either one of us thought would happen. I never thought that we'd be looking up at Green Bay and above them Chicago. I thought that maybe it might be possible, but like that was like such a far stretch. I figured 2-3 years that might be the case, right? But not now, not here, but we're here. This is what it is. So I think this game is incredibly important. And I think this team has to go into it with basically your playoff life is on the line. Like you need to win this game just so you have an opportunity to play when it gets cold outside or when it gets colder outside. So I think this game is as close to a must win in the history of Dan Campbell as the head coach of the Detroit Lions as there's been. You go back to his first season, it's kind of rocky. I wouldn't really say there was ever a must-win game. There were games where you're like, it'd be cool if he could win. And then once, they started turning things around, it kind of got going. That game, the year that they ended up going 9-8, and just missing the playoffs when they beat Green Bay, that wasn't a must-win. That was one of those games where if they won it and everything fell their way, they would have made the playoffs, and that would have been a really cool story. You go to last year, the game against Minnesota at the end of the year was something to talk about, because if you lost that game, you lost the division, and then I think you were in fourth place for the playoffs for seeding. So it was, or you were third place for seeding. Whatever. I had to go back and look, but it was one of those things where it would have been nice to win, and if you won, cool. If you lost, we'll deal with it when we get there. This right now, to me, feels like it is. If your Super Bowl hopes, if your playoff hopes are on life support right now, this is a game that you have to have. So I feel like they must have this game. They must win this game. That being said, they're looking to avenge a loss from week one. Like, you go back to week one, and I know it was a long time ago. I remember watching that game just being completely dumbfounded and frustrated. Just watching it unfold and being like, what the hell is going on? Like, these guys, they look slow. They don't look prepared. They looked a little out of it. And then next thing you know, the following week, it's like, okay, cool, they got things right. And then they end up playing Chicago and they put 55 on them. And you're like, okay, cool. All's right in the world. Well, now we're here and we're coming off of a game where it's like everything they had to beat the Giants. Was there something that we missed in week one? Like, was the proof of the pudding? Was it all there for what this team was going to be this season, and we just neglected it because we were like, Dan Campbell, grit, toughness, things, Jared Goff, offense, Amon-Ra St. Brown, touchdown. We're good. We got Jahmyr Gibbs. Life's great. Did we miss something from game one? Because going back and looking back at week one, I feel like this team is closer to that team that they were in week one than they were than they were that team when they faced the Bears. I feel like they are closer to that team that lost to Green Bay than they were that team that annihilated the Chicago Bears.
Yeah, no. I don't know if you paid attention. I got a little bit of hot water by asking Dan Campbell, hey, can you run last year's offense after one game? But it was true. It was the question to ask because they have not been able to run last year's offense. And the answer was, the great word I used was, is it feasible to run last year's offense? They can't. Without Frank Ragnow, with young offensive linemen, with an injury to Christian Mahogany, it's a different offense. And you're not, because this stat is so sick. The Lions are the worst team in the NFL in air yards per pass. They are the worst team in the league at throwing the ball more than 20 yards in the air. The worst. There's nobody worse. And it's not being a hater. Doc and Jock are not haters. The numbers don't lie. But in the history of the league, in the last decade, it's the fourth worst average. How many times they're throwing it 20 yards or more? It's a passing league, and you're not passing. You invested in Jamison Williams, gave him that money, Isaac Tesla, and you're not doing it. So there's a problem because the offensive line jacked it way up. And it was clear because you can't have the first game, communication issues, fine. But you didn't do no pre-snap motion. You didn't do what makes your offense look like your offense. So everybody saw it. But when it happened at home and you had miscommunication problems with your offensive line, that's a huge problem. It's dead silent. Like, you're supposed to be able to scream your head off and everybody's going to hear it. So it's 100%. It wasn't missed. It was, people were hopeful that the offense would continue to look like how it did against the Bears, where you were completely healthy, firing on all cylinders, and you had the most motivation you've ever had to kick the tail, because the motivation was, because it's, you know sports, and I know you know psychology. It's not only the talent, it's also motivation. They wanted to silence. The motivation for that game was, we want to show that our offense was not the product of Ben Johnson. That's enough to carry you to 50 points. That's all you need in this kind of game. Now, the rest of the season, John Morton is not putting the team in the right position. He's not an expert at scheming exotic run games. He just isn't. So nobody was surprised. We talked about it. When John Morton got hired, and remember, thankfully, you and everybody follows at Detroit Podcast. Every single day when I went out there, I said, Lions defense is beating the offense. Lions defense beating that offense. The interior is kind of struggling here. So you saw exactly what was happening, and it carried over. So nobody should be surprised. The issues, though, is that what was the biggest concerns came to fruition. You don't have enough offensive line depth, and you're not healthy. So I think going into the year, because everybody said, this team can go as far as they want, healthy. This team is on paper a Super Bowl team. When you start digging and you lose Terry and Arnold, you lose DJ Reed, you lose Marcus Davenport, you lose Kirby Joseph, your best safety, you lose Sam Laporta. Listen, we ain't gods. Listen, we're realistic here. Thank God that you and I are realistic, and we're now in our 40s where we've gone, we don't have to be slappies. We can say, nah, you're not a god team that's just going to go through the NFL with 5 of your best players out and then win a Super Bowl. Like, come on, dude. It's pretty straightforward. Teams have identified A to D blitzes up the middle. You disrupt the passing attack. You disrupt Jared Goff ball game, and you just got to find a way to stop. You got if it's me now, you got to have a good enough defense to stop Jahmyr Gibbs, and you got to be able to run it so that the Lions keep everything underneath. So it's straightforward to me. It's that you don't have enough talent along the offensive line offensively to execute at the highest possible level against the best defenses. But, any given Sunday, another team could lose another player. The Bills lost Ed Oliver. The Rams are dealing with some injuries. So you just got to survive. And I think that's what Dan Campbell says. Let's just see what it looks like in December, because November was supposed to be moving period, and you kind of stayed put, dipped a little bit. But once I think the clock hits December, once they get through this stretch and they play the Cowboys and the Rams, the next stretch of division games when you're focused and you play teams like the Steelers where you can kind of feel like you're not going to get tested offensively to that degree, I think there's going to be a chance to have some hope that you just get into the playoffs at 11-6, and you take your chances that one of their key players gets hurt, or you turn up the. You just got to remember, everything kind of has to fall in place where you play 10% better. Iwasika just becomes a little bit better, or Mahogany maybe comes back, or your defensive line steps up a little bit with Davenport, who maybe stays healthy. Maybe the right injury luck hits the Lions in December in a spot where they can win it. But first and foremost, you got to beat the Packers. So fingers crossed, beat the Packers, and we can talk about this Lions team because right now what's crazy is, just real fast, the Pistons are taking over all the airtime because of the fact that they've won 13 in a row. The DSP curse has been broken, maybe. They still are winning games from one recording to the next. So we'll see how the Pistons continue to win and play, and we'll keep monitoring what's going on. Wings are up and down moving forward. But transitioning to the big game, because it's crazy because this might be a weather game. This might be a situation in which it sucks because the Wolverines lost their best running back. But what excitement level is this? I do think that everyone's getting up for it. It's the Matt Patricia return game, who's bringing in a good defense. It's an Ohio State team that I think has learned that you got to play to your strengths. I think they got the best player on the field, and I do think that Michigan's going to have a hard time keeping up with Ohio State. But I do think it's going to be a close game with Ohio State pulling away in the fourth quarter.
Yeah, I think Ohio State wins this game. I think the weather being a factor plays into Michigan's hands. I think the more limited you have Sayin and Smith, the wide receiver, the better it is for Michigan. That being said, the excitement level for this game, it's usually very high for me. I'm excited because I'm going to go hang out with my buddy. We get together every year. We watch this game at a local bar, and we have a blast. It's one of the things that we look forward to when we get into summer. We always highlight and circle this date. But if it's not for hanging out with him, my excitement level is like a 3. I want to know if just overall with college football, has it felt like you've almost regressed? Like your excitement for college football has just kind of been taken away? And whether it's NIL or whether it's just Michigan State not being all that great, or whether it's Michigan and the cheating scandal and essentially a slap on the wrist that they got, or whether it's any number of things. The playoff being expanded to what feels like 47 teams. Does college football seem like it has taken a dramatic step back in your life and for you? Because for me, it has. And this is coming off the heels of Michigan winning a championship, and you can put all the asterisks by it you want. I do. This is coming off Michigan beating Ohio State regularly. This is just college football really feeling like it gets pushed down your throat quite a bit, and it feels like it should be more exciting. And yet here I am, just kind of like ho-hum with it. I'm not as excited as I feel like I should be. Like I said, I'm not so much pumped up to watch this game specifically. I'm more pumped up to go hang out with my buddy. Where is college football for you right now in just the pantheon of sports? Has the excitement level for college football diminished a little bit? And I know you're a Michigan State guy, but are you excited to watch this game at all?
Yeah, it's always, good to see what a national title contender looks like. And we always hope that Ohio State wins, because as a true Spartan dog, it's root for the Spartans and root for the team playing Michigan. That's how I've always been honest about it. And I want to see, I'm tired of Michigan beating Ohio State. So I want to see Sharon Moore actually, is he willing to expand his offense, try something new, or is he just going to run and see if that works? I want to see if there's some adjustments made and how it looks. So, no, to be honest with you, and it's a great question you asked, clearly the Spartan season was like a swift super kick to the nuts, and now it's just a continuous. It's that meme of the guy just, the European dudes, the Asian dudes just standing there, just getting whacked in the nuts over and over and over again. You couldn't even beat Iowa or, whatever. You lost games. You're playing Maryland, and we've gotten to the level of Michigan, buy a Coke, get a ticket. You buy one ticket, get 5 free for the Spartans at Spartan Stadium. I didn't even bother with the credential. I have a chance to go to Michigan with the credential to see Ohio State, but it's a big drive. I don't know if the weather's going to be cooperative. I don't know if I'm interested in actually going, so we'll see. if I make it out there. I always like to see if the Lions send scouts out there to see if anybody will talk or anything. But it's crazy to think about when college football it's just different because you have these players that just are now moving, some every year. And when you realize it's like baseball now, you have the haves and the haves not. And the Big Ten is Ohio State and Michigan, and you got the SEC, and you got this situation now with Lane Kiffin, who's probably going to get a new job in the season. It's all misaligned. And Nick Saban said it perfectly. You need to have a set leadership schedule where no coach can leave before the playoff ends. Like, what the hell? Like, one transfer window from February till April, and that's it. Once you're locked in on April 30th, no roster can change. You cannot move. You cannot just have these transfer windows where, I'm going to put you at the second string this week. I'm in the portal. And you're like, okay, dude, it's not as fun. And Michigan State, took us, massive penalty for what, we're still living in the Mel Tucker era with mistakes that he made. So once we get past that, once Jonathan Smith gets fired, and hopefully it's right after the Maryland game, then we can start picking up.
I was going to say, why has Michigan State been radio silent on that entire situation? Like nothing come out either way and said anything. It's crazy.
Right. It's not crazy. The honest truth is you have recruits.
You guys got to recruit the other day. You guys signed a recruit the other day. Right. He might not be there.
Right. That's the thing, is that you have recruits coming, which may lead some people to think he's coming back. Here's the big problem. Is they'll say, you know what, let's just keep him because it's going to cost $30 million to whack him. And they say $5 million if they do it in February, but you're just trying to kind of massage like, hey, listen, top end linebacker. I know you committed to Smith, but listen, we're going to get good stuff here. Stay with us, because the second they fire Smith, you're going to lose 15 players.
Yeah, everybody hits the transfer portal.
Yeah, you're just going to lose everybody. So it's a big mess. It's rock bottom. So I'm not following it. And the games are longer, and I'm just not a fan of the way the game's played. The quarterbacks aren't good. Like, you had all this hype for Archie Manning. I was excited to see him. That didn't work out. The SEC's nice, but there's no true dominant team. Ohio State looks good, but it'll be fun. Basically, it sucks. But for college football, I watch it for Michigan State, and for the podcast. But to me, my interest level spikes when you get to the playoff. And that's when I think everybody raises their level, and that's when the competition happens. And also, too, Big Ten football causes ass. Like, I don't want to watch 1964 football. Like, we've emerged in a passing league. And Michigan's like, we're going to run the ball. And then you got opposing, like, okay, Michigan runs the ball. Yet, Purdue forgot how to stop the run in the second half. Every fucking team that Michigan plays forgets how to stop the run in the second half. It's like, can I stop seeing the Michigan running backs run for 60 yards? Can a fucking defensive coordinator figure out how to set an edge, keep an edge, how to play properly, and do something so that these guys are not running free? It's not that difficult. It's not that difficult at all to stop a run if you can just, clog the middle, tackle, and take good angles. But when you got these first-year guys coming in and they've already got their checks cashed, who the hell is going to commit to tackling and playing at an elite level on defense when it's more sexy to be a wide receiver and dance in the end zone and make $40-50 million a year? So that's what sucks. It's not pure. It's not fun. And it's just too much bad play, bad coaching, bad decisions. And it's not as fun to watch because you're not seeing adjustments. You're like, okay, everybody in the whole world knows what Michigan's going to do against Ohio State. You would think Matt Patricia's going to stop it. So we'll see. We'll see how it plays out. But that's just my mindset, is that there's no pursuit of excellence in the college game. It's just survive, and the money situation is distasteful, in my humble opinion. Make sure you follow Adam on X at AdamRSTROZ. We're thankful continuously that you guys have supported us. You guys keep questioning us for our funny questions, and we appreciate it. But if you just dig deeper, if you want to know, ask, and Then tell you. Read the headlines, read the stories, listen to the podcast, and don't just be a surface level fan and just listen to the questions and then react to that. Go a little deeper. You'll find out, it's not that John's talking about Shedeur Sanders. The whole freaking NFL world is talking about Shedeur Sanders. And if a former NFL quarterback says, hey, maybe Shedeur could develop in Detroit, you damn well know it's going to show up on Detroit Sports Podcast, because we're your favorite water cooler place to talk, hate, appreciate, and have a good time. And thank you for letting us do it. because you know I appreciate you doing this. This is my favorite hour, my favorite 2.5 hours every single week, talking shit about wrestling, talking about Detroit sports, and the nonsense that is college football. Can't wait. I can't wait till next Tuesday or Wednesday when we fire it up again and we drop another episode on Thursday continuously for the last 12 years. A new podcast, fresh, every single Thursday on the Detroit Sports Podcast Network. Uncensored, unfiltered, and nobody does it like us, and nobody can do it like us. And that's been a blessing to be able to keep doing it, and many, 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 many more shows to come. Thanks, everybody, for your support. Happy Thanksgiving. Gobble, gobble, gobble. And we don't need to worry about what's your favorite plate. All of it. Turkey, ham, desserts, drinks, all of it. Drop it on your plate. Wear the stretchy pants and worry about your weight on Friday. Hope everybody has a blessed Thanksgiving. Thanks for supporting Detroit Sports Podcast Network. Gobble, gobble, motherfuckers. Can't wait to talk to you guys next week on the next episode of Doc and Jock.
You fucking podcasters. I said don't let them in here.